Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regular Taber Town Council meeting for February 24th, 2025. Call the meeting to order. Ask for adoption of the agenda. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council adopts the agenda as amended to allow for the opportunity to undertake closed session items prior to the timing of delegations at 5 p.m.
All right, thank you. Amended agenda item on the table. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. And just for the record, Councillor Sorensen is not able to attend this evening. All right, on to item 3, public hearings. We do have one public hearing. Item 3.1, public hearing DP-24-250. I will call a public hearing to order. And just to advise members of the public in attendance who wish to speak against or for the direct control development application 24-250 will have a 5-minute time limit for speaking and must state their full name for the record. Also must state if they are speaking for themselves or on behalf of any group or organization. Mr. Thibault.
We'll ask, maybe Selena disappeared. We'll ask Mr. Egan to come forward and start it off.
All right, thank you, Mr. Egan.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This public hearing is related to the Direct Control Development Application 24-250, specifically on lands north of town, normally known as the Thelma lands. So there's several lots up there. This is the first lot adjacent to the highway. And because it's a direct control and there's some very specific requirements, we have a public hearing associated with that. And we've got some more.
All right, thank you. Ms. Newberry.
We did receive communication on this one as well.
So if you'd like to run through that, then, because it is the public hearing,
Correct.
and then we can allow we'll get out of your way and allow
All right, thank you, Ms. Newberry. Anything to add with that then that you can offer at this stage?
Yeah, so I do have some written communication here. This person does object to the development. So I'll read out the letter that I've received. So this was done this morning on February 24th, 2025. I would like to object to the development of DP 24-250, an application for a single-family dwelling located at Block 2, Plan 7808 AI in the Direct Control District, DC1. Because parts of the road is not entirely contained on the road right-of-way for Thelma Street and is therefore located on my property according to the information I was provided when I purchased a property located at the legal description of Southwest 7-10-16 west of the 4th in 1968. It is also my understanding that when Calgary Power installed power lines, their surveyor said that I own part of the road as it was not located in the road right-of-way for Thelma Street, and therefore there is no appropriate access to Thelma Street without trespassing on my property. I would like to bring to attention that several engineering and surveying companies have brought equipment onto my property to drill 3 holes without my prior knowledge or consent approximately 10 to 15 years ago. This is all I can present at this time in short notice, but I will probably have more to present and more questions in due time. And this is from Mr. Hiramu Urano, more commonly known as Hank Urano.
All right, thank you. Any other questions related to that at this stage? All right, Selena, any more to add to that at all?
No other communications were received.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that information. So at this stage, I'd just like to ask if there's anyone present wishing to speak against Direct Control Development Application 24-250. Anyone present wishing to speak a second time against Direct Control Application 24-250? And anyone wishing to present against Direct Control Development Application 24-250 third and final time? All right, seeing none. Also, is anyone present wishing to speak for the Direct Control Development Application 24-250? Anyone present wish to speak for Direct Control Development Application 24-250 second time? And anyone wish to speak for direct control application 24-250 third and final time. All right, seeing none, if I can get a motion to accept that information for input received from public hearing, direct control application 24-250. Councilor McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council accepts for information the input received at this public hearing for direct control development application 24-250.
Thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, I hereby close the hearing. Moving on to item number 4, adopts the minutes. Item 4.1, minutes of regular meeting of council, February 10th, 2025. Mr. Tebow.
Administration has nothing to add to the minutes, so back over to council.
All right, thank you. Anything arising? So make that motion. Councilor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council adopts the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on February 10th, 2025 as presented.
Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 6, bylaws. Item 6.1, first reading for land use bylaw amendment 4-2025. Mr. Tebow.
I'll ask Mr. Egan and Ms. Newberry to come forward. This is the property that is west of west of the school. Ernest Myers Park is this property that we're discussing.
All right, thank you. Mr. Egan, Ms. Newberry.
Oh, thank you.
There
Good
we go.
afternoon, Mayor and Council.
Good afternoon.
So before you, you have a first reading of bylaw 4-2025. This particular bylaw amendment has come as a result of a request from council. First, the municipal reserve was removed from this land, and I believe the appropriate title is attached to the package to show that that has happened. And so today we're looking for our first reading, and if first reading is given, then we will arrange for a public hearing, and we would send letters out to everybody within 100 meters, so the neighbors would be well notified. They would receive at least 2 weeks' notice, so they'd have time to gather any of their thoughts and stuff to present them at a public hearing, or make arrangements to attend virtually or send in writing, so they'd have plenty of opportunity to be heard. And then we would arrange for that public hearing to occur at council. I believe in the RFD it does state March 10th, but I think we would probably push that to a further meeting just to allow for a little more time, because this one could be contentious.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councilor Beckering?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the introduction, Mr. Tebow said west of the school. I believe it's south of the schools or not. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And just a clarification question. It's suggesting the council requesting this change. Did that come up at a previous meeting then? And I'm not recalling that exactly.
The requirement to change the districting comes from the sale of the land. And so I don't believe it actually has come from a council meeting. I'm not aware of a resolution.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to clarify. I mean, I understand it's just gone to MPC recently and for the next step, but it's suggesting council was requesting this change, and I do not recall that. Is that just an interpretation?
I would say it's administration bringing forward
Okay,
this
fair enough. Yeah.
attempt to redistrict.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. All right, and this has been contentious already through the last hearing we had previous. Correct, sometime back, last fall, I believe it was. Anything to add to that, Mr. Egan?
No, this, of the two, I think you're referring to the two MR properties that were
Right,
brought forward
right.
previously. There was no contention around this particular one at that meeting. However, it was the other parcel that
Yeah, I think the other
This
the other
process
parcel
was
the other
stopped at
parcel
that
had people in attendance, but we did have some a couple letter correspondence at least, I believe, right? 2 letters kind of come to mind.
And so the next step, if council gives approval today to first reading, then we'll engage in the public engagement process, and
Okay.
we'll make sure that people are plenty aware. We're working with the proposed purchaser of the property to encourage them to also engage in the process, so
Right.
that residents in the area of the area will understand one potential future development and what will be allowed. We'll be available to answer questions
Okay.
on what is allowed under the new districting if that's approved today. or that started today.
Okay, all right, thank you. Counselor Bruin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To get the ball rolling, I'm prepared to make the motion that council gives first reading to bylaw 4-2025 to amend land use bylaw 13-2020.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. All right. Moving on to action items. Item 7.1, DP 24-250, Block 2, single detached dwelling. Mr. Tebow.
So again, I guess we'll have Ms. Egan or Mr. Egan and Ms. Newberry come forward. And this is the property that we just had in the public hearing.
All right, thank you. Ms. Newberry?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So before us today, we have an application for a single detached dwelling. This one is in a direct control district, which is why it has been brought to you. There's no assigned address to this particular property, so if approvals were given, addresses would be assigned at that time, things like that. A variety of people were consulted with this particular application due to its location adjacent to Cooley. So there are no abandoned wells on this property. There are some active wells to the south and west, but all the development on this property is outside of those setbacks. We did send this to the Historical Society, or Historical, Ministry of Historical, I can't remember. It's a long one again. They change it
Okay.
every 3 or 4 years. We did send it to the appropriate person at that ministry, and we do have a response from them saying that this development wouldn't require a full-on study or anything like that, but if they do discover anything on the property, then they have to go about the processes. The other thing we did with this one, we sent it to Alberta Transportation, and then we also did not send it to Alberta Environment because the requirements actually don't require us to send it to them. We only have to send something to Alberta Environment if it is an area structure plan, municipal development plan, redevelopment plan, and intermunicipal development plan, or if it is a subdivision that is directly adjacent to a water course, so a river and whatnot. This is not a subdivision, it's not directly adjacent to a water course. It didn't meet any of the requirements for us to have to refer it to them, so they wouldn't have reviewed it anyways. We did have them provide geotechnical reports, a variety of other reports, including a wildlife study, because over the years we've heard that there might be rattlesnake hibernaculums out there and they are a species at risk. So all of those things still come into play. If anything is discovered at any time during the development, they would have to go through the process of dealing with those. And then one of the conditions in the permit is that they must enter into a development agreement for the construction of any required or future required municipal improvements. So municipal improvements are things such as roads, sidewalks, lights, sanitary, water services. So their septic field, their cistern, or however they're choosing to do their potable water, and their sanitary system would need to be approved under that development agreement. We would have the appropriate engineers and stuff review to make sure that it is sufficient for the area and that it meets all the environmental requirements and stuff. And then as in our public hearing, it was brought up that Mr. Urano believes that a portion of the road lies on his property. From our satellite photos, it does appear that there is a little corner that cuts on his property. So they would need to develop the road so that it is fully within a legal road right-of-way and not on someone else's property. And that should all be captured in a development agreement, which would have to be registered against title. All of this would need to be done before they could begin any construction on the property.
All right, thank you. Councilor Bruin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jack Tuslina. So this would answer Mr. Urano's concerns then with the road being on his property. We'd make sure that it's all on the right legal portion of the land then.
Correct. We can't legally allow them to have a road on someone else's property. So they would need to make sure it is completely within an existing road right-of-way, and there is an existing road right-of-way there. So they would need to move it off his property into that road right-of-way. They would need to provide us drawings and things like that. We would need to approve them. There would be a whole process, all covered under the development agreement. It wouldn't be drastically different than what we do for subdivisions in that sense.
This be more of a thought than a question, I guess, but would not the real estate agent who sold this property have made the person aware of this, or?
I am not sure of that. Quite frequently, I would get phone calls regarding these properties, and I would talk to people on that. I do not believe I talked to this person before they purchased it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Beckering?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Did this go before the Municipal Planning Commission? And if not, why not?
This did not go through the Municipal Planning Commission because direct controls don't.
All right.
Follow up?
Sure, you bet.
Yeah, thank you. My mistake. I should have known that. But this has been before council on previous occasions, and it's been a bone of contention for a number of years, for at least 18 or 19 years, I believe. And from my perspective, the town department, planning department, has done their due diligence, and I'm entirely satisfied with the research that's been done, Mr. Mayor, and on the expertise that's provided by soil sampling and all those things that go along with that, because it is a bit of a different situation, there's no doubt about that. I noticed that the MD of Tabor opposed it somewhat, or had some concerns. Could you explain that a little bit further, please?
So yes, through Mr. Mayor to Councillor Beckering, the MD did have some concerns specifically with the underground springs in the area and the location of the septic field, which is also why I indicated that that would be covered under the development permit or development agreement, so that we could make sure, like, they're proposing a septic field, but maybe because of that, they can only have a pump out system where they have to haul it out all the time. And like for their sister, and then another concern they had to do with watering. They were worried about if they were watering and stuff. I'm not sure how we can actually capture that in a permit condition, but it does require that they enter into a household purposes agreement with the SMRID, so that they would have irrigation water for watering the land out there, because they're not going to use cistern water to do that. It's just far too expensive. It would be in their best interest to probably leave a strip outside the setback zone where they're not touching that at all, they're not watering it and things like that, because that would be the area that would be most prone to sloughing and things like that in the future. They did raise some concern regarding the age of the geotechnical report, but geotechnical reports don't stale date. So as long as there was nothing that made us believe that there have been changes where we would need to have it updated, we don't need to ask for a new one. I am not an expert, but usually when you're looking at satellite photos through time, if you have a coulee that is starting to fall in, you can see it over time, and we didn't immediately notice that with this area. Again, though, I am not the expert on that.
All right, thank you.
Just to add, so the MD has done the appropriate thing, which was to raise concerns, not technical objections, because as an adjacent property owner with the campground, they would be well within their rights. Plus, it's in our zone of intermunicipal development. All the concerns are addressed with the development permit and the specific documents that we have either in place or that Selena will require as part of the development permit. So it's the MD putting us on notice that these things are of interest to them, and we need to do what we're already doing, what Selena is doing, in order to mitigate any risks to the MD as an adjacent property owner. And so it's all appropriate and situationally correct.
All right, thank you. Just to confirm, Selena or Chrissy, the one that related to geotech, so that doesn't stale it as you say, so that's the concern was brought up, but we can address that accordingly that's the standard format, which is allowed, and nothing updated needs to be done in that regard?
Yeah, that's right.
For what?
Unless, so the geotechnical report was prepared by a professional engineer.
Right.
And unless there are substantial changes to the area,
Okay.
either slumps or other situations, you don't, the geology isn't going to change. And
Nothing showed up. over that
nothing
time.
showed up. As they construct basements or do work for septic fields, if they discover anything substantially different than the boreholes have predicted, then again, it would be we'd stop and have a look and see if there was any substantial differences. But
Okay. All right. And just one other question I noted in there that it talks about the wildlife survey that related to nesting that had to be done April through September, I think it was. So was that would that be like a condition that can be added that has to take place also in order to go forward with the permit?
So typically what they're looking for there is migratory birds and birds of prey that nest in trees or in other situations that can't be disturbed during their nesting period, and that's a requirement from the government. And so that's a normal and typical situation that we find. So even if if there's something nested in a tree, they just simply couldn't cut it down if that was the plan until the birds had vacated on their
Oh, I see.
own.
Okay. Yeah.
And then they can make adjustments or make the proposed changes.
Because I think that's what the plan is to sometime through April to September is likely when this is going to start, right?
Yeah, so we, at this point in time, because we don't have the development permit, don't know exactly what they're changing.
Right.
This,
yeah.
again, it would be a condition
Okay.
and a set of requirements that if their proposed work does involve
see.
this, then these new requirements would come into play.
Okay.
Right now, we don't have any information that would confirm that.
Right.
Have a condition.
No concern at this stage. Yeah.
And you have a
Mr. Mayor,
condition.
I do have a permanent condition in here, and at number 14, it does read, "The applicant shall adhere to all provincial and federal regulations and requirements, including but not limited to the Historical Resources Act and the Environment Protection and Enhancement Act as amended from time to time." So it's kind of a blanket condition to make sure that they know that there are these other things that come into play with this
Potential things, right.
property.
That would have to be addressed should that show
Yeah.
up accordingly. Okay, great. Thank you. Councilor Renfro.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It seems like there is tons of information on this. The only question I had was concerning Garth mentioning it. It has been contentious over a bunch of years. It seems like everything's kind of been checked off now. Had it just not been checked off before as well? In the past?
Councilor Bergeron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In response to Councilor Renford, that is correct, sir. That's why I said at the very beginning, I'm very impressed with the research that's been done, because it was not done to the same extent before. And I'm entirely, and I want to commend you people for doing that. I really think it's
Yeah, a
important.
lot of really great information. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Councilor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, all of my questions haven't been answered here, so I'm prepared to make a motion, Mr. Mayor, that council
well.
approves development permit DP 24-250 for single detached dwelling at no assigned civic address, Block 2, Plan 7808, is that AI or A1? AI, with the following 20 conditions as listed.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 7.2, clarifications DP-25-004 and DP-25-005. Mr. Tebow.
Council will enjoy some more Chris and Selena. If council recalls, we did have these signs come up at our last meeting, and there was a notice that there was a missing piece of information or pieces that need to be added. So I'll hand it over to Selena and Chris.
All right, thank you.
So good afternoon, Mayor and Council. With these particular signs, when we received the application, they were listed as being on the 46th Ave, so that is the service road, and the plan number that I used is the plan number that is registered with land titles for 46th Ave, that service road. But when we were looking at the documents for the actual road licensing agreement was done, it used the highway plan, but 46th Ave. So what we've done is just make this much clearer, and we're putting in that it's 46th Ave and Barton and Highway 3, just west of Barton Drive, with both plan numbers, because
it's a little ambiguous exactly where those signs are out there, if they're part on one and part on the other. So we're just including both to make sure that we have it well covered for what the proper legal description is.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? First off, recommendation to rescind 2 motions, correct? From the previous meeting. All right, so we want to start with that. Councillor Bruin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make the motion that council rescinds motion number 42-2025 made on February 10th, 2025, which stated, moved by Councillor Sorensen that council approves development permit DP 25-004 for a portable sign at the corner of 46th Avenue and Barton Drive, Plan 9510236, with the following 11 conditions as listed in the RFD.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Oh, this is kind of a tie, I don't know.
Mr. Mayor, if I
Yes,
may,
sure.
I would cede to Councilor McLean because she made the motion. She made the mistake, so
Oh,
she can correct
okay.
it.
Well, actually, it was,
I made the mistake.
the tie was between yourself and Councillor Firth, so Councillor Firth, you want to relinquish that, or you want to take it? Sure, all right, very well. Good point.
No mistake. I move that that council rescinds motion number 43/2025 made on February 10th, 2025, which stated, moved by Councillor McLean, that council approves development permit DP 25-005 for a portable sign at the corner of 46th Avenue and Barton Drive, Plan 9510236, with the following 11 conditions as listed in the RFD.
All right, Councillor Referee, had a question? Okay, thank you. All right, motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimous. Thank you. Councillor Rufford?
Yes, I will fix Monica's mistake.
Oh my gosh.
So I'd like to make a motion that council approves development permit DP 25-004 for a portable sign in the road right of way for 46th Avenue Highway 3 west of Barton Drive, Plan 9510236 and 6987JK with the following 11 conditions.
Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Would you like to do the next one, Councillor McLean?
Yes, I'll do the next one. Oh, I didn't mean to push that button.
That's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council approves development permit DP 25-005 for a portable sign in the road right-of-way for 46th Avenue / Highway 3 west of Barton Drive, Plan 9510236 and 6987JK with the following 11 conditions as
Thank you.
listed.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. That was relatively painless. All right, moving on to item 7.3, 2025 capital project. Mr. Tebow.
We'll have Mr. Egan speak to this one. This was an automated garbage truck that did go out for competition and has come back a little less than desired, price-wise.
All right, Mr. Egan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. So, as the CAO noted, the purchase of a new automated garbage truck for our residential services was approved in the 2025 capital budget. We did go out to tender and received 4 tenders, all of them compliant, but all of them over budget. And so, we've come back to council with a request to change the budget to allow us to proceed with the purchase. And so, yes, this recommendation asks for a $75,000 increase, which will cover both the cost of the tender increase and the GST, and allow us to proceed with that purchase. We run 2 residential trucks in town, a primary, which is our new one. In that case, it's 7 years old, and then a secondary, which is 12 years old. The purchase of this truck will allow us to retire the backup truck and move our current primary truck into that backup role and get a new garbage truck, and that will allow us to maintain our service levels.
All right, thank you. Councillor McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do we not contract out our residential garbage pickup?
No, we contract out the
Oh, the compost and the
composting and
recycling.
recycling, but we actually have our own trucks for both residential and commercial. We also do commercial garbage removal.
follow-up, Mr. Mayor?
Sure, you bet.
Should we be contracting out?
Good question.
We don't believe so at this point in time. We haven't studied it recently, but part of the what the town does is we also run the transfer station, and together that's our garbage collection in town. The recycling we have contracted out, and Lisa will be coming back to council here shortly to report back on the changes that are being made by the province to move recycling costs from our residents to the the producers of that material, and then it slipped my mind. What's the other one? The composting. Thank you very much. That is a waste diversion scheme that diverts a great amount of weight, because we end up paying on weight and volume to truck our garbage to mostly to Lethbridge, but occasionally to others, depending on costs of transportation and the costs that the landfills are choosing. So Lisa runs that, all three of those elements that constitute refuse removal in its entirety for the town. So if not that I'm interested in standing items all the time, but that would be a good question. If council thought that we should examine that, then that you could bring that forward in standing items, and we would do a business case analysis on what are the options available. Because there are other communities that choose not to do this themselves.
All right, thank you. Councillor Beckering?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess a kind of a twofold question. Can you give us an idea on delivery date on this particular piece of equipment? And would the possible situation with the tariff between us and the United States would affect this project or not?
So we're not, I'll answer the second question first. We're not certain exactly that, because these are not, you just don't buy these off of a lot. They're typically customized a little bit. They're basically the same, generally the same, and specifically different units. And so there are options that we choose not to include in our tenders that they provide for other service providers, things like automatic greasing and a $19,000 adder, that kind of stuff. And so because it's automotive and it is metal, there is a lot of work that does get done on both sides of the border, especially with these specific vehicles. We believe the delivery time will be between 3 and 6 months. Once we confirm and get our slot in the production line, then we'll know exactly what our proposed delivery date is, that we can go pick up the new vehicle and commission it and certify it and then accept it into our fleet.
All right, thank you. Councillor Bruin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks, Chris. You kind of answered my question, but can this truck be solely sourced Canadian? Does it have to, or is it made in the United States, the garbage truck, or I thought they were actually made in Canada?
All four companies are Canadian companies that are providing the truck, or the unit, I'll call it that way. But I don't believe things like motors are made solely in Canada.
I hope my friend Donald Trump's not listening, but if we can buy Canadian, I just assume buy Canadian on. So that could be part of the RFD going out for it, Canadian sourced.
So we have just gone out for the lowest bidder and received 4 bids. And the working presumption on that approach is that each potential supplier is incentivized to figure out what is the best combination of things to provide the best price. In order to, we'd have to rescind the tender and take a different route, a request for proposal, and to make something like that a requirement or a condition of
My
purchase.
understanding of it, if the unit is invoiced before the tariffs are come on, the tariffs won't apply to it. This is what we're kind of dealing with in the agricultural world right now.
I would think it's exactly the same.
Any
as
units that
agriculture.
were pre-sold for 26, if it's invoiced, Rocky Mountain Equipment is saying no, it's already purchased. So,
Right.
but who knows what Mr. Trump will think? I don't know. He knows all the time.
All right, thank you. And just to clarify, the original budget estimate was done with some research, I believe, at
Yes.
that time. But that's going back far enough now that it's coming to the need fruition-wise that it's that much higher with your tenders that went out accordingly.
Yeah, the lowest bidder was about 10% higher than our budgeted amount,
Right, yeah.
which was a little bit of a surprise to us, but we did do research into last year's prices. And then we have information, although it's dated, it's from 7 years ago, our last purchase of
Right,
our most recent truck.
All right, thank you, Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm prepared to make a motion that council increases the automated side load residential collection truck budget by 75,000 with funds to come from the capital reserves.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimous, thank you. All right, on to item 7.4, additional funds request zero turn mower. Mr. Tebow.
Again, we'll get our interim director of recreation to step forward and explain this one.
So as a little bit of background, the Parks Department, this is a Parks Recreation mower versus a Public Works rough mower. They had actually brought a request for 2 zero-turn mowers, and during the internal budget deliberation process, we reduced that to 1. In the process of cutting that request in half, we cut it in half twice on the budget side of things, and that's the clerical error that you're seeing that we're trying to rectify today. Each of the original zero-turn mowers was budgeted at $40,000 each for an $80,000 ask. And then we find ourselves in a spot where we can afford half of a mower with the current budget. And so we'd prefer to buy one at this particular moment in time and put that to work.
All right, thank you, Councilor Brown.
So I guess what you're saying, we can blame this on the previous manager, recreation.
I prefer not to blame it on anybody, I just, especially with him behind me.
Well, with that, I'm prepared to make a motion that council directs administration to increase the zero-turn mower budget by $20,000 with funds to come from capital reserves.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimous, thank you. Item 7.5, grant waiver request, Tabor Food Bank, Tabor Titans event. Mr. Tebow.
I'll speak to this one, council. So we had a request come forward. We did bring it to the rec board. They typically have their community grant program, but that program, the $25,000, has been utilized already all this year, and the time frame has passed. And our procedure indicates that we should be coming to council should there be another request. This event did happen last year. It is a $255 waiver request for just the rental of the large ice space. So that's why it's before council today, and we did accommodate this last year. So over to council if you have any questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councilor Firth?
I'm speaking in favor of this and ready to make a motion in that vein. But I noticed that there is no funding source on alternative one. Do I need to state that, like council discretionary or?
So with my discussions with finance, there wasn't an indication of a need for a funding source because the waiver is just a waiver. It's just negating the cost. So there was no funding source required.
Perfect, then I'm prepared to make a
All right,
motion.
thank you.
I move the council waives the large ice arena rental costs in the amount of $255 for the 2025 Tabor Food Bank and Tabor Titans fundraiser.
All right, thank you. Councilor Becker, any other question also?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do, and I support the motion that made by Councilor Firth. But I hope we change the body of the motions where it says waves. It's not waves, but it's W-A-I.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, all right.
Noted. Thank you, sir.
Well, that slight change noted, all right. Yeah. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. On to item 7.6, department reports. All right, we have our usual department reports. I'll list those accordingly, and if you have any questions, please stop me as well. First up is Recreation Department report. HR Department report. Mr. Tebow.
So sometimes these reports have highlights in them, and I just wanted to point out that we had passed our 2024 internal core audit. So congratulations to ourselves once again for getting through that. It's quite a large undertaking for that group, for Grace and for Marnie to go through, and there's a lot of interviews that take place, and she has a lot of paperwork that she has to do. So we did just fine, and we're looking forward to moving in. I believe next year is our external audit that has to take place instead of an internal one. So appreciate that.
All right, thank you. No other questions there. Engineering Public Works Department report. Treatment Utilities report. Facilities Management report. Planning Department report. CAO report. Administrative Service report. Finance Department reports. Fire Department reports. And Economic Development report. No other questions? All right, seeing none, no motion required. Moving on to Mayor and Council reports. Councilor first, can you start us off, please?
Certainly. So I was able to attend most of the meetings that I was required to. I missed a couple this month. I also attended the Tabor Irrigation Impact Museum's annual general meeting. And just today, the Resilience Scale Masterclass session with Horizon School Division, TCAPS, and Tabor Police Service. And I found out this morning I was selected as a member of the Alberta Association of Police Governance Special Purpose Committee to the Provincial Police Review Commission Implementation Team through the Tabor Municipal Police Commission. And I had to write it out because it was a mouthful. That's all I have to report this month.
All right, thank you. Councilor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sitting beside a big shot here. Mr. Mayor, I attend all my meetings, and I also attended a meeting of the Municipal Police Commission closed session regarding a situation within the town of Tabor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was also able to attend all of my meetings. Unfortunately, I couldn't attend that one because I chair the, what's the letters? Yeah, the JEDC. So unfortunately, I can't be in two places at once. But yes, I was able to attend all my meetings and nothing else to report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilor Rufford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was able to attend the meetings I was able to attend. And I will be the ref for the March 8th face-off against hunger. So, Mayor Prokop, keep your stick on the ice, play fair, so I don't have to put you in the penalty box.
All right, yeah, thank you. Councilor Bruin.
I'll pay you $20.
40.
We will have a bidding
Kick
war.
'em out.
Major fighting. No, thank you. I attended what meetings I was able to attend via the Zoom meetings. There's one I could not connect to, although I tried for the Tabor Commission special meeting. I was not able to connect with you guys. I was busy trying to twin the city in Cabo with Tabor, so.
All right.
That was it, but yeah, I suggest we have a retreat there.
All right, thank you. And for myself, a variety of meeting requirements attended, also check sign and document requirements as well. I also attended the Tabor Museum AGM, as well as the special meeting for Tabor Municipal Police Commission. I attended the Night to Shine for Special Needs, hosted by Parallel Church. Very nice event, very well attended event, 100 or so individuals in attendance. I also attended the Parkside Manor luncheon invite. I attended the local Tabor Food Bank Coldest Night of the Year fundraiser event, along with the 5-kilometer walk, participating accordingly, and they did raise their $34,000 plus for that Coldest Night of the Year event. So that was very well done. Also 100 or so that were participating in that as well. Not necessarily the coldest night of the year, it was probably the windiest, one of the windiest nights, but well attended anyway. I also attended the Civic Center Ice Arena this past weekend and participated in the Green Shirt Day, partnered with the Tabor Golden Suns for organ donation awareness event. specifically the Logan Boulay effect, along with Toby and Bernie Boulay and Jan Clemis as coordinators. Recognizing many Taborn area families also involved with many great life-saving success stories through organ donation as well. So that would be my report. No questions arising, no motion required. All right, moving on to item 7.8, standing item council requests. Mr. Tebow.
Okay. Here is the listing. Councillor Sorensen had a request that we addressed at our last meeting regarding the flooring in the archery club room. Outside of that, council hadn't brought anything else forward, but I'll hand it over to council now and see if there's any standing items.
All right, just to clarify with that one, that's still in the works as far as that particular thing's been approved now or looked into being approved, correct?
Yeah, we had brought that capital project forward, I believe, for 35,000 when council approved it to happen.
Right, okay, very well, thank you. All right, any new standing item council requests? Councilor Effort.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I would like council to direct administration to look in the cost of a rail on the cement stairs at the rink between the stands. There's about 5 or 6 sets of stairs, right? And the rink has kind of been it's older, it's maybe grandfathered, that we've never needed railings, like we built a rink or we remodeled the rink, we might have to put that in the kind of in the middle of the steps of stairs and bring that information back to council. Now for cost, I guess, maybe the rink puts it into a capital budget next year. Hockey does run, the rink runs year round, right? So it would work with lacrosse. So I guess at any time, it doesn't really matter when it goes in. Just something to look at.
A lot of information there, Councilor Effort. Thank you. I would agree and support that, but I guess we need that in kind of a short version motion.
Look into the cost of a rail on the cement stairs at the rink between the stands and bring that information back to council at a future meeting.
At the Tabor Arena?
At the Tabor Arena.
All right, very well. All right. All right. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimous. Thank you. Any other new standing item council requests? Councilor Bruin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Sorensen isn't here, so we gotta get something on the board. Hey, over in Westview Estates there, we extended 43rd Street. We had a gravel patch the road there. We have a dangerous pedestrian crosswalk there coming from the north end of the pond. It comes between 2 houses right onto the street, and there's no crosswalk there. And people are used to not having that street go through straight through, and there's a lot more traffic on that street now. And I would like to request council or put a motion forward that we put a crosswalk on 43rd Street where pedestrians can come out of the north end of the pond, 54th Avenue and 43rd Street junction. I'd also go as far to say as perhaps look at putting lights there, pedestrian lights. It's a dangerous little area right there. And there's a lot of children in that neighborhood.
All right, thank you. Just to clarify, I mean, that would normally go to the traffic committee, correct, Mr. Tebow? But we can go forward with a council motion, right?
So traffic control devices would get discussed at the traffic committee, but they always come back to council
Right.
for council's approval. So we could forego that step if council desired and wanted a pedestrian crosswalk.
Okay, no, I would support the motion personally, like it's, I think that's, I've been over there occasionally, definitely there's more activity, traffic going on for that purpose, so that makes perfect sense.
Well, it's interesting. I was driving that street and I noticed a lady and her kid was on a bike and the kid came straight out.
Yeah.
And I stopped to talk to someone at the intersection. He said, we really need a crosswalk here because that happens all the time. Because people aren't used to the street going straight through, and there is a lot more traffic on 43rd Street now.
Right, all right, thank you. All right, we do have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carry unanimously, thank you. Any other new standing item council requests? All right, seeing none, just asked to move into closed session and deal with one or two of our closed session items prior to our meal break. Councilor Beckering.
Also move, Mr. Mayor.
Motion on the table. All in favor? Carry unanimously. Thank you. Good, thank you. All right. All right, moving on to item 8, delegations. Item 8.1, delegation, Irina Kuiper. Request for funding support. Mr. Tebow.
Great. If we could get Miss Irina Kuiper to come forward, and you can stand, you can sit, and present to council.
All right, thank you. Welcome.
Hello. As you said before, my name is Irina Kuiper, and before I begin, I just want to say thank you for allowing me the opportunity to present. It means a lot to me. And so I am here to tell you about this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that I have to go to Europe to play basketball with NBC Camps. NBC Camps is an organization that not only develops sports skills, but also life skills, and allowing every athlete a chance to learn and grow in finding success. I have been going to this camp up in Olds, Alberta for a few years now, which is where I was sort of recruited to play for this Europe team. I have been working very hard to fundraise and train for this trip in a bunch of different ways, and I am super excited. On the team, there will be girls from all over Canada and the US to play. I'm excited to meet new people and create lasting friendships. This trip will bring me new experiences, and it will allow me to learn new cultures and meet new people. I'm excited to gain independence and change my mindset to impact my worldview on how I can help my community. Of course, I also am excited to play basketball and enjoy the sport I have a deep passion for. One reason you can support me is because I'm excited to represent my community of Taber over the world, because when I'm in Germany and I go to Seattle to train, I will say I'm from Taber and I can represent my community in how I act and what I say, how I play. I can also apply my experiences over in Germany into my daily life here in Taber. I can combine them with how I become involved in the community and offer a fresh perspective. I also currently support our community in many ways. I already am very involved in youth sports by coaching and reffing, and I'm looking forward to doing even more. Thank you for allowing me to present to you today. It's not about the financial support necessarily, but all about your encouragement and that you can hear about my opportunity, because it's pretty special to me and I'm very honored to be able to go. Thank you very much.
All right, well, thank you so much, Irina, for your presentation. Very well done. And I love to hear your passion. That's great to see. And you're obviously very sports enthusiastic minded, and that's a lifelong passion, evidently. So thank you so much for that. Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the presentation, Irina. Good job. I've got 2 questions, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Sure.
How many young ladies from Alberta will be going on this team?
I don't actually know who all the players will be yet. I will find that out in the next month or so. But I don't really know of anyone from Alberta. The closest person to me, then the only Canadian I know, is from Saskatchewan so far. And so, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Sure, absolutely.
I did some little bit of research, and I see that NBC has another session coming up in Olds in July, I believe it is this year again.
Yeah.
I think I did some reading up on it, and I'm very impressed with that particular organization. Now, the NBC means nothing beats commitment, correct?
Yes.
Correct? Explain that to us. What does that really mean to you?
So to me, what that means is that it's not just about sports, but it's about everything you do in life. To me, it's how you give everything your all and you stay committed and you continue to work towards a goal until you achieve it. And that is one thing that they do teach us a lot at NBC Camps when we go. There's a lot of playing basketball and being an athlete, but then they also teach you a lot about how to achieve your goals and how to grow as a person and to stay committed and to find what you like to do and love to do and to grow toward it and stay, committed, like that they say.
All right, sure, thank you. Councillor Bruin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What a fantastic presentation you made, and your passion. You can feel that you want to do this and you really enjoy doing it. I suggest you run for council when you get a little older. You speak very well, and it takes a lot of guts to get up and speak before this group. So I really support what you're doing, and I'm excited for you. And previously, I made a motion for another young lady to go over to, where was it? Germany. No, somewhere. Naomi, where'd she go? I think she went to, anyways, I'm willing to put that same motion forward for you. That council approves the financial request from Irina Kuiper in the amount of $1,000 to assist with the expenses of participating in the NBC International Girls Basketball Tour from the 2025 Council Discretionary Fund.
All right, thank you. We do have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? Councillor Beckering?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, we did sponsor young Miss Hoekstra last year. There's no doubt about that, for the tune of $1,000. I think we probably set a precedent which, in my view, now should not have been set. I'm reluctant to say this, but I think council made an error in that regard. And I would ask Councilor Bruin for a friendly amendment, if possible, to reduce that amount from $1,000 to $500.
All right, thank you, Councillor Bruin.
I appreciate what you're saying, Mr. Beckering, but I'm going to let my motion stand.
All right, fair enough. Once again, we do have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Congratulations. All the very best of luck to you. I hope you enjoy your very much well-deserved experience there. We look forward to hearing more about that when you're back.
And I want you to hand out Tabor pins. Lots of pictures of Tabor.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Irina. Appreciate that.
Irina, just before you go, I'd like it if you could touch base with admin again. And I believe council, last year, we also provided a bunch of Tabor paraphernalia.
We did, yeah.
So if you could connect with Brittany at admin@tabor.ca, and she'll set you up with some of the same stuff that we sent over last time to hand out.
It should be a fairly impressive swag package there for you to pass out along there. All right.
Over there.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, with that, just a motion to move back into closed session, please.
Make a motion. No,
Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you.